When you're looking for a setting to create a character for, you have to carefully select the right setting for maximum enjoyment. You can choose Suffer and play in Ravenloft or Darksun. You can spend your time doing what you're told in the feudal morass of Greyhawk. You can set sail for the stars with Spelljammer. Before discovering the rules were pretty all over the place and was discontinued for a reason, and you have your campaign die out because of all the hassle involved to make it actually work. Or you can accept your fate and get borked into the Forgotten Realms where everything will eventually get written into. Faerun, till all are one. Or you could pick up a sword and start on a path that will eventually see you ascend to a higher plane of existence and become a deity through your own merits. In short, play Mystara. That's right, today we are talking about the paths of immortality. I'm Mr. Welch, and who wants to live forever? To repeat lessons from previous videos, there are 5 spheres of power, and all of them have their own unique path to immortality. To become an immortal of time, you have to take the Dynast path. Epic heroes become immortals of thought. Paragons are the energy route, and polymaths are for matter. There is a unique path for entropy, but it is super secret and not found in the Beckme set or the Rules Cyclopedia. So you have to go to Marco's Codex Immortalis for the paths of the Destroyer, Manipulator, Dungeon Master, or Tyrant. Before you say that Codex isn't canon, it was decided at the Council at Mystaracon that it, along with many other documents found on the Vault of Pandius, are now considered canon and can be used for educational purposes. Of course, if you're Glantrian, you'll just cheat your way in. Because Glantry. There comes a part in every adventurer's life where you've cleaned out all the dungeons, explored all the wildernesses, turned your kingdom into a thriving paradise, and have defeated evil all over the multiverse. So what's next? Why not try ascending to a higher level of existence and becoming a true power player in the multiverse? How do you do that? In Beckme, you had to reach at least level 30 for humans or get a million XP for classes that didn't have 30 levels. Then you qualified to apply to take the test for immortality. But if it was that easy, it wouldn't be the pinnacle of achievements, would it? Knowledge of the paths are kept rather secret. They are jealously guarded. You aren't going to find an autobiography of Vanya giving her step-by-step method of ascending to immortality in a library. If you commune with her, she's going to tell you to figure it out yourself like she did. Information on what you have to do can be discovered over the course of your life, typically piece by piece in epic quests that are placed there by your would-be sponsors to help you on your path. Once a character has figured out the path to immortality, then they have to apply for a sponsor, which isn't a sure thing. You have to decide 2 things before starting out on your quest. First, what sphere of power you want to pursue, and which sponsor from that sphere will you petition to be your sponsor. The spheres all favor certain classes over others. Fighters have an easier time making it to the sphere of matter, while wizards prefer the sphere of energy. But that's not a rule set in stone. If a fighter is determined to become an immortal of energy, as long as they meet the requirements, they're in. Just going to have a harder time than a wizard. That's all. Finding a sponsor is another matter entirely. Mystara is different from the other lesser settings in that most people follow a pantheon rather than a specific immortal. One single god in Faerun might be enough for an adventurer out in Battledale, but here in Ne'er-do-Well, we appreciate the fact that immortals aren't jealous overlords hovering over us, demanding our slavering attention, or else they will weld us into a wall of souls that dare defy their self-appointed masters. Just because you aren't talking about the wall of the faithless and Forgotten Realms wizards doesn't mean it's still not there. This is why all the deities from Mystara, Greyhawk, Dragonlance, and the rest talk about Ao behind his back. You can pick any mortal from the sphere of power you're ascending to. Well, obviously you would prefer to select an immortal that you worship. That's not a requirement either. However, like choosing your sphere of power, choosing an immortal you already have a relationship with is going to make things so much easier. Once you've selected the immortal you want to be your sponsor, you have to go on an epic quest to get their attention. But first you need to select a gift to provide your sponsor. As you are going for the job interview of your life, a simple fruit basket will not do. You need to bring something flashy and expensive. The gift needs to cost at least 25,000 gold pieces, though more is better. Artifacts are preferred, and major artifacts will get you an expedited meeting unless you really screw up on the way there. The journey to meet your sponsor is an epic quest in its own right, and you will be required to gain a level, or at least 120,000 experience points along the way, whichever is greater. The more people you bring with you on this quest makes it harder to impress the sponsor, who will often not show up or put you on hold for up to 100 days before they finally arrive. Bring trail mix just in case. You have to bring your gift along with you, so make sure it's portable, because if it's damaged or stolen, you have to recover and repair it. A Neiman Marcus gift card is a safe bet, because you can put that in your wallet a lot easier than you can a Throne of Power. Along the course, you will be challenged with a series of 7 tests to prove your worthiness. You will be tested on your honor, dedication, resourcefulness, bravery, persistence, mercy, and wisdom. Not all of these will require combat. In fact, for many, not getting into combat is the key to success. Passing them is good and gets you a minor bonus to see if the patron shows up. Failing one is very bad and gives you a significant penalty. To compare, to balance out a failed test requires you to pass 3 other tests. So if you're on your way to becoming a deity, remember to be on your best behavior. The quest will take the petitioner to a remote location known for being incredibly hazardous, with numerous examples given, such as the top of the highest mountain, a mystical grove in a forbidden forest, a trench at the bottom of the ocean, a hidden temple lost to time, or the Euston Greyhound Station. Of course, all of the examples given in the book are for climbing a mountain, because Mystara wouldn't be Mystara without mountains everywhere. I'm pretty sure the original cartographer over at TSR was from Denver. Just a hunch. Once you get to the top of the tallest mountain, the hidden temple in the Great Northern Wastes, the Druid Circle in the Mystic Grove, or the corner booth at the McDonald's at Main and Gray, now you may begin your meditation to cover your chosen sponsor. There's a lot of ways you can do this, with major penalties for being a different alignment than your sponsor, bringing people with you, or failing tests. Remember, alignment is along the lawful chaotic axis, so good and evil isn't as important. You get minor bonuses for passing tests, and large bonuses for bringing artifacts depending on their power. Leilana Pierce's graduation cap from Reality Bites might be only worth a few bonus points, while Lydia Dietz's wedding dress would be a major artifact that practically guarantees the best response from your sponsor. Once you've begun your meditation, that can take up to 6 days. You have to spend at least 80% of your waking hours meditating, and you take penalties for leaving the area for any reason. Again, remember, lots of trail mix, or failing that, hope Domino's delivers. You will get one of 3 responses, with the worst being the Immortal telling you to go away, they aren't showing up. The best result is the Immortal manifest at the end of the meditation, which takes up to 6 days. The typical result is an omen in about 4 days, saying that the Immortal's on their way, and they will be in there in about 3 months. Remember to continue ordering apple pies at McDonald's, or else they're going to kick you out. If and when the Immortal decides to show up for the job interview, then it's a grand event with the Immortal putting on quite a show. They will manifest in a particular impressive fashion, one of the few times that manifesting on the Prime Plane is allowed by other Immortals. Events will be tied to the location that you're meditating at, anything from volcanic eruptions, massive storms, the entire forest animating, or the ice cream machine suddenly starting to work again and they actually have chocolate for once. Your potential sponsor will then manifest as some sort of creature, or even an animated terrain feature, to have a chat to see if you're worthy of their sponsorship. Your character will immediately be paralyzed, and all conversation will be done telepathically as your potential sponsor determines your worthiness. You're expected to be subservient and act accordingly. Getting uppity is a good way of not passing the interview. Being cheap in the gift department is another way to earn disfavor, so don't skim. If you are the preferred class of the chosen, you get a slight bonus, and giving a nicer gift again wins you more points. If you blow the interview, the Immortal destroys your gift, and you have to perform a quest to ask them again. If they really like you, they keep the gift and tell you what steps you have to do to achieve immortality. If they really, really like you, they will reward you with a magic item, and you have the common courtesy to teleport you home. Once you are on a path of immortality, you have several requirements that you must achieve without exception. During your path, you have to earn at least 600,000 experience points to qualify, but if you are in the favored class, this is discounted down to 400,000. You have to find an artifact of the sphere you're questing for, which takes years, and the quest is designed to be difficult. The Immortal will give you a trial that varies depending on the path you're on and who you are that has to be completed. Then you have to create a testimonial to your greatness, including a monument that you have to pay for or build yourself, in addition to earning some impressive followers along the way. Lastly, you will be given a task specific to you that will benefit your sphere in some way. Once all 5 of these conditions are met, you become immortal. Usually. There is a 1 in 10 chance that the Immortal decides to become a complete jerk and fail you anyways, requiring even more quests to make them happy. These typically involve bringing them another shrubbery. Though the tasks are presented as uniform for each sphere, I strongly suggest you customize them for every single character. While the 5 tasks are mandatory, how they are actually accomplished should be between the player and the Dungeon Master. It shouldn't be a checklist that you have to fill out. It should be a challenge to the individual character and their particular game world. The only exception to this is the XP requirements, which are earned over the course of completing the other tasks. The player has to be at the maximum level to finally ascend, which is 36th level for human characters, and varying attack ranks for other races. Next time somebody tells you that 5th edition is an easy mode, then ask them why it shaves 16 levels off to obtain immortality then. That's what I thought. The Sphere of Time requires lots and lots of time travel and takes the longest to achieve. The artifact required needs to be capable of time travel. While other settings frown on time travel, Mystara requires it for the best result. The trial involves the character traveling to 3 different time periods to help 3 different descendants to retain their nation and keep the family line going. Yes, getting your grandkids laid is often a requirement for immortality for the Sphere of Time. You must get your domain up to 50,000 people in population, or 10,000 if it's non-humans. In addition, you have to build a capital for your domain. Lastly, you have to form a dynasty that you rule over for 20 years and have a grandkid ready to turn over your dynasty to at the end. You can adopt grandkids, but you have to openly adopt them. That means you need kids, and you need to make sure those kids have kids. So elf players, hold your nose and do the nasty with other people. I don't care what you smell. Do you want to be an immortal? Then go buy some Barry White albums, a gallon of Crisco, or whatever else gets your kink on. or better yet, just adopt. Probably the best method for them. The Sphere of Thought is largely considered to be the easiest of all the passive immortality, because it doesn't involve lots of magics to accomplish. Granted, a lot of magic will definitely help, but there isn't any time travel, magical duels, or reincarnation to get this one done. The quest is the standard go find an artifact, but with no restrictions on what type other than being from the Sphere of Thought. You have to train another player's characters from start to be your successor. So find a player tired of their character and bribe them with pizza to get this part of the path started. You have to create a legendary weapon, which for most people means giving up all that gold you've been saving up over the last 36 levels to a Hephaeston. You can also save money by going to the Madri's Word, but those always come with a downside, even if they do have a coupon. You have to destroy an artifact of entropy, which at this point should be old hat for the character. Lastly, you have to complete an epic quest like building a castle in the sky or driving out all the dragons. So open up that checkbook and call some gnomes. The Sphere of Energy, despite being a catch-all of all different immortal types, is heavily favored toward wizards. Not saying you can't join the Sphere of Energy as a cleric or a fighter, but as written, it's going to be almost impossible. That's why I suggest customizing the paths to individual characters. The quest to find some artifact from the sphere is the same as the other ones with no restrictions. You have to build a magic item whose gold cost to create is equal to your experience points. As you are hovering around level 36 at this point, the cost is going to be in the millions of gold pieces. Hope you have friends in Darrican that can help. The components need to be rare, and at least one of them has to be nearly impossible to acquire, like a specific sound or an emotion. You will need to train at least a dozen apprentices and transform the land around your house for 100 miles. That means your home needs to have a unique appearance and a diversity of different races living there. Lastly, you need to have every magic user in 1,000 miles acknowledge that you are better than them, either by intimidation, duels, or force. There's a reason why magic users look for isolated locations when questing for immortality. This would be an impossible task in Alphatia or Glantry. Yelarum or Wyoming, not so much. The Sphere of Matter is one of the most difficult to achieve in play because of the unusual requirements. The quest and the task are combined into a single goal, find a specific artifact. Once you have the artifact, you are immediately reincarnated into someone else of a new class with no memories other than that you have to find that artifact again. Once you've acquired the artifact 4 times as a different class each time, you've achieved this path. The 4th time around, though, requires you to do it alone, but you have all the abilities of your past 3 lives. You have to recruit a group of followers in this quest, requiring someone from every different class, and you have to keep them alive. Once you've completed your quest, you have to build a monument for yourself that stands for at least a decade. Those are the requirements for the 4 normal paths. But what if you're evil? Well, then crack open the Codex Immortalis and check out the 4 paths available there. The Entropic paths are each designed to oppose a specific sphere of power. As you can expect, the Sphere of Entropy is going to require a body count if you're questing to be one of the bad guys. Even the few Entropic immortals that aren't evil still contributed to the deaths of a lot of people because that's part of the cost of achieving the ultimate prize. Hope you aren't too attached to your friends if you want to go down the path of entropy. The first Entropic path is that of the Destroyer, and this one has you knee-deep in blood for the majority of it. First, you have to kill off your family, anyone who has ever loved you. Then commit an act of depravity that requires at least 500 victims. The deed can't be done through subterfuge, it has to be a blatant act of cruelty. Orphans, Vestal Virgins, cancer patients, the Harlem Globetrotters. The victims generally have to be viewed as innocent. You don't have to kill them. You can scar them for life in manners of ways that would get me banned on YouTube. The point is you're a terrible person, you have to act like it. Then you have to destroy an artifact of thought and liberate an artifact of entropy. Afterwards, you get to kill all of your allies except for your protege. Your protege has the worst of it because he needs to reach level 12 while you're prohibited from showing any kindness towards him. If your protege dies, you got to start with a new protege all over again. Lastly, you have to create an artifact that furthers your power, but then allow your protege to acquire it to try to overthrow you. Then all you have to do to seal the deal is destroy your protege in the most horrific way possible. You're level 36, he's level 12. Shouldn't be hard. If you are going to go down the path of the Destroyer, be sure to read the entire Evil Overlord list beforehand, because you're going to need it. The Manipulator is in direct opposition to the Sphere of Matter. This is the path of the liar and the traitor, people willing to get others to do their dirty work for them. This quest requires you to acquire 4 different companions of different classes, gain their confidence, and then lethally betray them in a manner that they realize it was you before their demise. The task is the standard find a lost artifact of entropy, so nothing special. The trial requires you to find someone on the path of immortality from another sphere, and then sabotage them without them knowing, typically in fatal fashion. You cannot be the direct cause of their death, but driving them to suicide or through a proxy is allowed. If you get discovered by your potential victim, you have to find another victim and start over. And for your own protection, probably do that faster than your previous target ascends into a revenge-driven deity. The last part requires you to corrupt an organization, like a country or a religion, and gain at least 1,000 followers of your new methodology. This also requires you to corrupt adventurers of good alignment to finally succeed. The Dungeon Master, despite the name, doesn't turn you into a balding gnome with bad fashion sense, but instead requires you to build a mega dungeon that racks up an impressive body count. A lot of the other tasks are the standard variety: find an artifact and build an artifact that threatens at least 1,000 people. You need a half dozen followers that have reached 12th level, and you have to build your super dungeon that's required to be at least 6 levels deep. In this dungeon, you will place the forbidden artifact you previously found, but then you have to defend it from at least 8 different adventuring groups. There's a catch to the defense, in that one and only one person from each group can reach the end of the dungeon where you can finally personally kill them, and each adventurer you face must be a higher level than the last one. These adventurers have to find your dungeon on their own. You can't just teleport people into it. Be sure to get somebody with public relations skills on as one of your proteges. Advertising is key with this path. The Tyrant is the 4th of the Entropic paths, and it is the enemy of the Sphere of Time. This one breaks from the usual requirements, as you don't have to build or destroy an artifact, but you do have to find one that helps you win 3 different battles in 3 consecutive years. If you don't have an artifact, a unique war machine will do just as nicely in its stead. As the name suggests, the Tyrant path requires you to rule over a conquered territory of at least 50,000 humans or 10,000 non-humans, and you must convert the majority of them to your religion. While you are in charge, you have to rule with cruelty and malice, sparking at least 3 attempts to remove you from the throne, and you have to crush all 3. You need to be invaded by a rival power, face a civil war, and create a religious schism. Once you put down all 3 of those, you have to arrange a power struggle after your death and have no announced heir. When you die, through any means, you will be reincarnated as a commoner with all your memories, and you have to regain control of your nation from scratch. If you succeed, you're immortal. If you die in that process, you're dead forever and no immortality for you. All of these paths require a patron immortal to start you down. But what happens when you're a Glantrian atheist and don't need any immortal telling you what to do? Well, more than likely you're going to get stuck in the plane of limbo and eaten by a demon because Rad really didn't think about the little guy when creating the whole philosophy of Rad thing. But you have an out, assuming you're a wizard, because Rad found another way to gain immortality, that of the Radiance. It's dangerous, it's unpredictable, and it's more than likely going to cause more harm than good. In short, it's Glantrian. The Radiance is a magical radiation leaking from an artifact beneath Glantry City. Through the use of certain spells and magic items, you can absorb this radiation, and with the ultimate spell, you can try to skip straight ahead to the line and become an immortal. First, you cast Transcend Life Force and spend 50 Radiance, and then pass every single saving throw possible in order. Fail 1 and you're back to start. The DC for the saving throws in 5e is 25, which is quite insane, but remember there's a lot of spells that allow you to modify your saving throws with Radiance. You're going to need a lot of Radiance and those spells to pull this one off, so be warned. If you succeed, you're welcomed by Rad and other Immortals who gain their immortality this way to congratulate you and explain the meaning behind the Radiance. Then they sick a challenge rating 23 Empyreon, or similar for back me, on you and tell you good luck. Fail and you're used to fuel the nucleus for a year. Pass and you're in the club. However, the Brotherhood of the Rad guard this knowledge with their life, and even knowing about the Radiance without permission is enough to draw a death penalty. So good luck! Those are the 9 methods for gaining immortality that were defined by the rules. There's Immortals that found other ways around this, through means they didn't understand, like random chaos during the Great Rain of Fire, performing a task for the Great Old Ones during the creation of the Great Barrier, like the Elemental Immortals did, or through unique circumstances in other planes of existence. You don't have to follow the rules for every character like I've said. In fact, the list of Immortals in each sphere doesn't make a lot of sense if you follow the rules exactly. Elves aren't going to have grandkids in 20 years for the pass of the Dynast. 20 years in elf time won't even get you to the second trimester of your first kid. The sphere of energy requires you to get every wizard in 1,000 miles to admit you're more powerful than them. But this is the same sphere that includes Thor and Copperham Shadowglint. I can't see Thor walking up to every wizard and telling them, "It's a nice tower you got there. Hate to see anything happen to it." Likewise, the only way Copperham is getting wizards to admit he's better is through the use of a hammerlock, probably while the wizard is sleeping. You can see the problem. If you have players that want to go along with the path of immortality, custom design it for them. The paths of immortality serve as high-powered adventure hooks, and though many of them require one-on-one play that goes against the whole dungeon party vibe that the game was designed for. You want to build adventurers that play to your players' experiences, but not make it too easy at them at the same time. Most people questing for immortality fail. Only a small percentage make it through, but that's intentional. Unlike gods who can't even make more of their numbers, Immortals is a growth industry. They need more Immortals to bolster their numbers, but they aren't going to let anybody in. But when you do get in, you've already got a mentor, a club, and you've probably pissed off more than a few of your contemporaries in both mortal and immortal societies. But who cares? You've got a religion to start, heretics to smite, and an entirely new world to design with your powers. You're swamped. Next week we are headed to the Savage Coast to take a look at the power players behind the scene of many a nation, the Inheritors. When everybody's existence is based on a magical mineral to keep them from mutating to death, It makes sense for one group to control the supply of that mineral so only the right people get it. Well, it makes sense for them, at least. But until next week, I've got something to say. It's better to burn out than fade away.